ask us a question? Email radio@experiencepros.com or message us on the Experience Pros Facebook page, and we'll interact with you live on the show.
Welcome back to the Experience Pros Radio Show. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us for ours.
Let's talk a little bit about that sweet stuff you are eating all day long. And we're going to talk a little bit about sugar. It's not often that the sugar industry and the tobacco industries are compared to each other. But in a recent article, the sugar industry was accused of using similar techniques as the tobacco industry to hide its dangerous effects.
It's about time.
The industry was actually able to hide the fact that sugar can cause an increase in heart attacks and strokes. And here, as our expert guest and advice on the topic, is Dr. Sanda Moldovan. You can find her online at askdrsanda.com. An award-winning board-certified periodontist and nutritionist, talks about she's taken on the dangers of sugar and how those dangers have been hidden from the public for such a long time. Dr. Sanda Moldovan, welcome to the Experience Pros Radio Show.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be with you.
Dr. Moldovan, let's start with this. Angel's much younger than I am, but I was born in the 60s. And, I grew up with Tony the Tiger and frogs covered with sugar and captains who promised crunch. What things do we know today about sugar that have never been communicated to us back then?
Well, it's interesting because in the 60s, that's why right around when we started this low-fat diet promise, if you eat low-fat, then, you're going to feel great. And it actually turns out not to be true. We actually need more fat and less sugar. So right around that time, we started to decrease the fat and add more sugar into the foods. And what has happened? We've all gotten fatter, just America in general. We've all put extra pounds on, and not just us. It's a global epidemic of obesity.
It is, we are hearing more and more that it is a global epidemic, and we're trying to find things that we link to. I remember when eggs were the wicked thing, and then butter was the wicked thing, right?
And coffee in and out 3 times over, 6 times bad.
And so now it's sugar seems to be kind of on the chopping block, and yet it is in everything. How do we even avoid it, even if we wanted to?
Exactly. And things like frozen meals, for example. A lot of people are on the run today. They grab a frozen meal, which sometimes can have 30 to 40 grams of sugar in itself, or like yogurt, which a lot of people think it's healthy.
And you think you're choosing the healthy thing, and then you find out you're giving your kids, more sugar than a soda.
We've seen the enemy, and it's us.
But we think we're doing the healthy thing. We're trying. At least we seem to, as the consumer, want to. But then, if we're not reading our labels, we find out that we're doing something almost worse.
Exactly. I think you got that right on. We have to read the labels in today's day and age. So if something looks good, go ahead and flip the product over and look at the carbohydrate and sugar content of anything.
Dr. Moldovan, I watched Angel go through a health scare several years ago, and the thing that they told her to do was basically cut out. She couldn't have any alcohol, couldn't have any sugar, couldn't have any carbs, couldn't have any wheat. She could have no fun. And yet she healed what was to be a surgical procedure. And so your book, Heal Up, How to Repair, Rebuild, and Renew Naturally, is one of those things that this is the same kind of message, right?
Yes, Eric. And actually, I'm not of the opinion to say no to everything and be so militant about things. And in my book, Heal Up, I actually do mention sugar substitutes, because things like trehalose, for example, or xylitol, which come from natural sources of sugar, yet they don't have the same effects as sugar, can be easily substituted. So, when you have a craving for sugar, instead of reaching for honey or sugar to sweeten, tea or coffee, you can easily reach for xylitol.
You just mentioned honey.
I was going to say, can you find that? Where do you find that?
So xylitol is found quite readily now in a lot of health food stores, even online, and it's spelled with an X, Xylitol, and it's naturally derived and extracted from birch trees or other plants. And it's a sugar alcohol, but it doesn't actually raise the blood sugar level in our body. So it just satisfies the sugar craving, but it doesn't actually cause us to want more of it.
Interesting.
Let's talk a little bit more about the health impacts that, all this sugar is doing. Because I think that we don't even realize how dangerous sugar really is. Can you give us?
Scare us.
Yeah. That's what we need though, right?
I guess, yes. So essentially, when we eat sugar, what we actually see happening first is cavities, right? Especially even in kids. Cavities really show us the picture of what's really going on inside of us. So our organs are also suffering. They have these little inflammation or cavity-like spots, but we just can't see our organ, but we can see our mouth. So when I look in somebody's mouth as a dentist and I see a lot of cavities, I know that person is inside, really, their organs are suffering with the same kind of thing. Yes. So carbohydrates like, white bread, crackers, candy, things like that, that are sticking on the teeth can cause cavities and raise the blood sugar level. And also, it can feed all kinds of inflammatory conditions, such as arthritis, such as liver problems, autoimmune diseases, and even cancer.
Wow. Now, and I think, we just talked about that it's so much, we're consuming so much more sugar than we even realize. And a lot of times, even when we think we're eating healthier and choosing that healthier alternative over the sugary donut and the can of soda pop, right? We think we're doing something healthier, but it's in everything. Is there an amount of sugar that is safe to have in our daily diet?
That's a good question, Angel. It's like, what is a safe amount of sugar? And I think it really depends on our daily activity. So if somebody is a student and they're sitting around all day, they really don't need as much carbohydrate or sugars to move around because they're not very active. But when you're talking about athletes, then all of a sudden the carbohydrate content needs to increase in order to help them with their physical activities. So it really depends on the kind of lifestyle one individual has.
Okay.
In general, what we do like to see, and the key to longevity, is keeping a low blood sugar level.
Low blood sugar level.
Yeah, so glycemic index is one way for us to measure how different foods affect our sugar level in our blood. So something with low glycemic index, for example, dark leafy greens, quinoa, salmon, things like that. You're keeping the blood sugar level low. What raises the blood sugar level are cereal, for example, or candy and soda and things like that actually spike the blood sugar level.
Dr. Sandra Moldovan, we're going to have you back because this is a fascinating conversation, and our time is up with you. Thank you so much for being with us. Follow her at AskDrSanda.com and get her book, Heal Up, How to Repair, Rebuild, and Renew Naturally. Yeah, I've seen it happen firsthand. So good stuff.
Thank you so much. Folks, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the Experience Pros Radio Network.
The Experience Pros, revolutionizing the way people treat people in business.
I'm Tom Busby, CNBC. Procter & Gamble is now slashing hundreds of factory jobs at 2 plants in Kansas City, Kansas.